Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well. Hope you beautiful people are safe and sound and living your best lives. We're going to be continuing what we've been doing, which is our little guide on dead cells, I guess you can call it that. And we're going to be taking a look at tactics runs today. So kind of an overall perspective on things. And as I said in the last video, obviously this is going to be a 5BC run, but as always is the case, the 5BC stuff only really matters after Hand of the King as far as spoiler things are concerned, so you can feel free to stay on the video up until then if you care about spoilers and that type of thing. But if you enjoyed this content, want to see more stuff like this, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, all that YouTuber stuff. And yeah, so tactics, the ranged playstyle. And range is a very interesting playstyle because it's all about positioning. What weapons work good in what situations, and it's very similar to brutality in that respect, but positioning matters even more because if you think about it, if you're right next to an enemy and then you want to shoot them, but then you miss because you're too far away, then another enemy is going to be hitting you, and then you're going to be taking substantial damage, and that's because tactics is very glass cannon-y. So how do we mitigate this? Well, through intentional playing, and that's something I'll really be focusing on here as we sell that blowgun, because I'm not a fan of the weapon. Unfortunately, I wish that it was easier to fire it off against bosses. But anyways, right now we have the repeater crossbow. Two-handed weapons is something that I'll get into in a different video. It's kind of its own little thing. If you guys want to see me do a guide on two-handed weapons, definitely leave a comment, because one, they're good for the algorithm and I want to game the system, but more importantly, a lot of people are confused into how two-handed weapons work and what goes good with them, how to effectively use them, and I like all the two-handed weapons. I think they're all fantastic, so obviously I'm going to want to, show you guys how to use them. Anyways, so tactics is pretty, I don't want to say one-dimensional, because it's anything but I will say there are some common themes throughout each tactics run, and I would say one of the biggest thing is understanding what your ranged weapon is capable of. And one of the first things I'd like to talk about is ammo count. So as we head into the toxic sewers, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I take a little bit of a break right there when I was actually playing this run. One of the things about ammo is some weapons have a lot of ammo and some weapons don't. And with ammo, you can get it back after a short while, or if you have something like Ripper or like some skill that like gives you ammo back. But other than that, for the most part, if you run out of ammo, you're kind of stuck for a few seconds. So I'm going to keep fast forwarding through this. Repeater crossbow, for example, ton of ammo, never really have to worry about it that much. But something like the infantry bow, not a lot of ammo. Hokuto's bow, not a lot of ammo. And that can put you in a tough position. So a lot of people like the ammo mutation, a lot of people don't. That's up to you on whether you like it or not. But ammo management is a really important part of tactics if you choose to use certain weapons. And another thing is what mutations work well in that tactic setting. So the first mutation I'm taking is called Barb Tips, and I'm actually not going to be holding it on for that long just because Barb Tips only works if you have a weapon with ammo. I'm going to be taking weapons that don't have ammo a little bit later on. So that is one thing I do want to note here is with tactics, you might be changing your mutations around a little bit more often than if you were using another stat. Just because of the fact that there's lots of really cool synergies, and that's something I want to get into. So about a year ago, I want to say, I made one of my favorite videos I've ever made, which is talking about synergy in dead cells. And synergy it's kind of a loaded term, but essentially all it really needs to mean for the context of this video is what weapons and what skills, what mutations, etc. works well together. So basically, what synergizes, what maximizes your success in this game. And there's a lot of ways to achieve synergy. The most popular is obviously through something called DOT, which stands for damage over time. It's just an acronym, nothing too important on that. But DOT basically comes with damage over time statuses. So these are things like burning, freezing, poison, etc., slowdown. And you can have different things that maximize that output. Typically one of the things is like something like an 80% to poison build. Like on my repeater crossbow, if I had that. Or if I had a quick bow with 80% to poison, and I have a carbine like in the backpack or something. So that's something that is good to know as I kind of fall into poison. There's always been this weird thing about like, I always tend to slip on the ledges. Like, does anybody else ever deal with that? Because I feel like I'm the only one that has that problem. But in any case, we're moving on. And synergy is a vital part of like being able to eventually beat 5BC, just because, 5BC is hard and you have to be able to build properly, and you can't just like throw random weapons together and expect it to work out. Like, having a fire grenade and not something that has that 40% to burn, is it going to hurt you? Not necessarily. Is it going to be the best method of success? Probably not. And that's why these things are important to keep in mind. And so with tactics, the most common ones you're going to be getting are the poison and the electricity affixes, because certain different statuses have like different sorts of effects. And poison and electricity are part of tactics right now. If you want to know more about that, I believe the wiki has an article on it. But in short, basically, tactics has the electricity and poison, and brutality has burn and bleed, and survival has slowdown and all that fun stuff. So overhead turrets suck. Don't like them. But able to get the kill right there. Wave denial is really useful if you're trying to escape a bunch of enemies, and ideally you don't get hit, but let's be honest, that happens sometimes. And I do really like wave denial. It's one of the best skills in the game, and I think there are some skills that are good regardless of the stat that you have, and wave of denial is like one of the few, and I would say the other one that's really good is probably ice armor. Just because crowd control is very important in Dead Cells, and wave of denial is possibly the best crowd control skill in the game. Anyway, so we are going to pass up these items. What am I doing with them? Am I picking up the rods? I don't. Okay. I do pick up rods later on, I believe. Lightning rods are another really good AoE type of skill, kind of crowd control, run away from a bunch of enemies. And you might find yourself doing that fairly often because of the fact that, when you're running tactics, you may miss a shot here and there, and that could lead you to being in a bad position. Fortunately, one of the nice things about tactics weapons is they're very quick. Most of them, anyways. Heavy crossbow is not the quickest weapon in the game, but it's faster than, like, the broadsword, for example. So you're working with a lot of quick stuff there, and so you can make that time to run away, pick your spots, fire weapons, things like that. So that's kind of the intro to tactics, I would say. And again, it's always important to keep in mind that, like, not every tactics weapon is going to be to your liking. For example, I said earlier that I didn't like the blowgun that much, but I'm a huge fan of repeater crossbow, and not everyone is. So, just kind of keeping in mind, like, what you like, what other people like, is not going to be the same thing, and maybe an unpopular opinion, but there's no such thing as a Dead Cells meta, despite how hard people try to make it a thing. It's not really a thing. This game is too subjective, and it's a single-player game. It's not going to happen, but yeah, anyway, so now we'll kind of talk about the run for a little bit in between talking about, like, mutations and all that fun stuff. And like I said, right now I have barb tips, but that is not going to be the case forever. We're just trying to clear out toxic sewers. I am en route to the 60. I was I got hit kind of early on because of that weird thing that happened with the poison. But luckily for me, there are enough enemies in this level to where you can mess up a little bit early on. You get like 30 so kills, you can take a hit or two, and then you can recover and get back your kill streak. So Cursed Chest, Toxic Sewers is 10%, so we're going to take that, gotta take it, and we're going to be at 272 right now, and 272 basically means 2 brutality, 7 tactics, 2 survival, which means I have a fair amount of power. 7 is a good amount to have in this level. Ideally you want between 6 and 8. Easier said than done, right? But it can be a bit painstaking at times. One thing with the curse, sometimes you may not be able to do everything you want to exactly, and that's why things like wave of denial are very good, because crowd control is like such an important part of this game, and wave of denial offers that, and it's a really good like curse support type of thing. We are almost at the 60. I don't remember if I actually get it here or not, but I believe I got 59 actually, which kind of sucks. But in any case, we did clear the curse, which is nice. And the thing about Toxic Sewers is that it gives an extra gear on your level, or an extra level on your gear. So you'll have level 8 as opposed to Promenade and Arboretum, which are level 7 gear on 5BC. And that's actually really important. Okay, I do get the 60 here. So it is really important just to keep in mind that, hey, like, different biomes will provide different rewards for you. But the caveat is that some are just harder than others. we're gonna go to the corrupted prison, which is the optional biome that you get if you go through the toxic sewers, and it's one of the hardest levels in the game in my opinion, because at this point in the game your damage is not going to be very high, but the enemy's damage is a lot, and you have to deal with the toxic miasma and the slammers. Slammers is obviously the bigger problem of the two, but one other thing about ranged weapons, and this is where I need to start talking about this, there is an enemy called the Weirded Warrior. They're the weird craps that shout like right before like they decide to like hit you with their weird katana thing. They're actually the enemy that drops the katana, which is kind of cool. I love it when enemies like drop weapons according to like what they do, which is why I'm baffled that the cleaver does not actually spawn the cleaver. Anyways, I'm getting a bit sidetracked right now. So Weirded Warriors block most ranged attacks. They block arrows basically, and that can be a problem when you are running arrows, which is what I'm doing right now. And the way to deal with that, you know, you have a wave of denial, you've got other skills, you can basically make use of things like that. That's not always going to be the case though, and what you may need to do in that situation is avoid their attack and then just kind of go from there. You avoid their attack, then just start shooting them. They do open themselves up. Just for the most part, they're going to be invincible to ranged attacks. So we're going to hit up the corrupted prison now, and I'll kind of show that in motion as to basically how that works. And how do you deal with Weirded Warriors? How do you deal with enemies in general that can block ranged attacks? Alright, so we're just going to jump ahead a little bit to the corrupted prison curse. This is a very difficult curse. I decided that I'm just going to go ahead and put my sonic carbine in my main slot, get rid of the Peter crossbow. It's diminishing returns with having a level 4 weapon, whereas having 2 level 7 weapons is really good. And alchemic carbine in general is really good. And Inquisitors give me a lot of anxiety. So I'm just fortunate I made it out, honestly. But carbine did get nerfed in this new patch. As far as Inquisitors are concerned, one thing you want to keep in mind is they shoot in one straight line. So, and they telegraph their attack like crazy. So prioritize the Inquisitors. Like any projectile enemy that can like aggro from real far away, like an Inquisitor or an Arbiter, yeah, or even a demon, honestly, just make sure that they become the priority. Like the more bulky enemies, like you can let them catch up to you and hit them on your terms, but Inquisitors used to end a lot of curses for me just because like they would just hit me randomly and it just would suck. Barely got away from that mob, but that's the beauty of Wave of Denial. Again, it's just a really good crowd controller. So if I were to recommend one skill out of all the tactics ones, I would definitely say Wave of Denial. I mean, tactics has great skills as it is, but Wave of Denial is just like on another level of really good, because it's the difference between taking 3-4 hits and dying, or in tactics case like 1 or 2 hits and dying, and you know, being able to live to see another day. So what we're going to do now is we are going to beat up on this bird, and then we're going to go ahead and take this challenge rift. And let's see what I do here. I'm probably going to get rid of that because I think I have extra jump on my amulet right now. So again, challenge rift is one of those things, like even if you decide to go slow, make sure you make your decisions like before you actually do them, because indecisiveness is what's going to get you hit. It's indecision and basically inconsistent ledge mechanics are going to get you hit. That was just me being an idiot. Like, there's no reason for me to go there. But so now I have to play a little bit carefully. So max damage taken from traps is 30%, and it's tactics, so that's what you're getting. And what I wanted to do here is basically take these guys away from the shield thing, but there was no way I could do that. So luckily I was able to kind of corner them and get some good stuff off, and then I was able to get the kill from there. And that's something that is only going to be achieved through practice in this game, because this is a very hard game, obviously, but I think one of the things that's most hard about it is like learning how to handle rough situations like this. I think something that happens sometimes is that we tend to get a little bit like too overwhelmed, and we lose our rational thought, and you know, things that we normally wouldn't do would end up happening because we're feeling overwhelmed. And that's like a thing in life itself. Like, you know, decisions are hard to make, and especially like spot decisions, and like being able to make those quick decisions is going to help you a lot in this game. So let's see if I pick anything up here. I don't feel like I should. Probably the wolf trap if I were to guess, but I think I was debating it for a while, but you know, I got Conji coming up. I'm going to Ancient Sewers right after this, so this will actually be a really good place to like get some poison synergy. And you can get your synergy through skills, especially like stuff like Wolf Trap, which has like a fairly short cooldown for the amount of use that you get out of it. Like, yeah, it's a very good skill. So another one of these elite guys, the Toxic Miasma, kind of a pain in the butt because they're faster when they're elite, but not overall a difficult enemy. So here's what I was talking about. Weirded Warriors, I just try to kill them with my skills and then do as much damage as I can. Somehow I hadn't really had to deal with any. If you stun them through like a down slam or something like that, you'll be able to like make them a little bit more vulnerable. So that's kind of why I do the things that I do there. So I'm going to take this back actually, because that was kind of cool. So part of getting better at Dead Cells is to understand the enemy's attacks, right? So right here, I'll rewind it one more time. I knew exactly where that projectile was going to land, and I was able to roll to where it was right in front of me, and I was able to avoid getting hit. So there's little cool things like that allow you to be able to get better at this game. It's just like to study the enemy attack patterns, and one way you can do that is through learning how to parry, and I'll talk about that like when we talk about survival, because that's going to be a necessary topic. And obviously I do have shield guides, and you guys can check those out if you want. They're in the guide playlist. But yeah, shields really help you understand how enemies operate. We're gonna go ahead to the Ancient Sewers. That's my second favorite biome in the game, by the way, is Ancient Sewers. I don't remember if I go to Graveyard in this one. I think I do. Graveyard is my actual favorite biome in this game, but Undying Shores and Fractured Trance are getting up there because they're just excellently done levels. So Ancient Sewers time, and I talked about this in my last video about Impalers and how you need to prioritize them because they can aggro from really far away. And that's kind of the case here. And you really need to be mindful of like where they are and what the ground underneath is doing. And that involves like, you know, you don't have to play fast, but you do got to play, again, I use this word a lot, but you got to play mindfully. And you can't just go through the motions in a level like this. This is often said to be a very difficult level. It's a difficult level to get the kill streak in because the main problem with this level is there are not a lot of enemies. There's only about 80 something enemies in this level. Typically, sometimes you end up with like 90. I definitely was not expecting the Purulent zombies to aggro me right there, but I was able to handle that. Sonic Carbine's a very good biome weapon. It's kind of mediocre against bosses. The problem with Sonic Carbine ultimately is why would I use that when other things exist? And that can be said for a lot of things, but yeah, it's not a great weapon, to be honest. When it comes to Disgusting Worms, if you have Wave of Denial, then your life is easy. Otherwise, just go ahead and roll past everything. Make sure you don't get hit by the bombs, because if you get hit by one, you're getting hit by the rest of them, and they do a crap ton of damage. One thing important to note is that poison spreads. So having a Carbine on me is really good right now, because that's spreading to other enemies, and then that means it's less enemies to take care of. Mob management is really easy on Tactics, just because of the dot synergies that you can get. You can even get Burn and Bleed. You just, you know, it's a little bit harder to get those. You have to have like specific affixes or skills, but Poison and Electricity is a lot easier. But anyways, I'm gonna sell that Magnate, which I normally don't do because Magnate's one of my favorite skills in the game. But in this case, probably not the best option to take. But we're gonna go ahead and kill that Impaler, and sometimes Impalers on the same ground as failed experiments can cause a lot of problems. If you get hit by the failed experiment as it's jumping towards you and there's an Impaler at the same time, be prepared to get hit, because that is not fun. Kind of just some ledge manipulation right there. Just kind of manipulating that Disgusting Worm into like going where I want it to, and then just kind of jumping around, making sure that I'm safe. And yeah, just kind of not going through the motions, but I know this level so well because there's certain patterns that you recognize after a while with certain enemies. And being able to identify how enemy behavior is going to dictate what they do, it makes the game like a heck of a lot easier. By the way, Carbine is still amazing. Like, yeah, I got nerfed, but you don't need to worry about it that much. I'm surprised the owl actually was able to kill the kamikazes. I did not want to see that one coming, but nice thing about Impaler is that they telegraph the heck out of their attacks, so you'll be more than okay. I was feeling a little cocky, so I was like, I want to get the kill in this room right here. And then, of course, I got the elite turret. Why wouldn't I? But luckily, I was able to kill him right before he did anything. So, and that's when you know, like, your damage is doing well, is like once you start one-shotting elites. Oh, I did not kill that. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Automaton being one of those spawned enemies on 5BC is such a pain in the butt, I swear. Like, I hate that. Oh, we got a cameo for my cat. Great. Here, come on to the table. Come on. I'm gonna be petting her and doing my commentary at the same time. I think she wants pets because I've already fed her multiple times. I think. Yeah, I did. She's a great tabby, by the way. 9 years old. I adopted her back in February. She is my pride and joy. And she just laid down. Yep, that sounds about right. I'm right there with you, buddy. Anyways, so we're back up in the shop, and I decided, okay, you know what? What I actually need is a good weapon. And like I said, Sonic Carbine, not a bad weapon if you look at it like objectively, but there's just so many better ones out there that it's just kind of bad in comparison to everything else. So that's kind of what my angle is here. And I'm just like, let's just find literally anything else right now. And, you know, you recycle, you get up to 5 recycles. Once you unlock that thing, you get the restock mutation. Or not mutation, God, what's it called? Blueprint, excuse me, I apologize. I did not realize I took a Shrapnel Axis in this run. That's kind of cool. Shrapnel Axis did get a buff on the melee and the range, so I was trying to test that out. And yeah, it's definitely a lot better, but it's kind of the same problem that it's always had, which is what I suspected, which is at the end of the day, it's just not a very powerful weapon, and its entire gimmick is flawed. Because it doesn't shoot arrows, it shoots shards, which means you don't get like the ammo buffs on mutations. Like barb tips would be really good with this weapon, or point blank or whatever. And also, the melee attack should also have a range component to them. Maybe a nerfed range component, but a range component regardless. But anyways, I kind of going off on tangents right now. I am going to do a tier list for 2.4. I think we're on 2.4. Yeah, we're on 2.4. I am going to be doing a tier list just because it's been... Last time I did anything was like 1.9, and I want to do that. One problem with Sonic Carbine is obviously, you've noticed this by now probably, is that when you shoot, there's a bit of a delay, and that can create some problems, especially when you're trying to avoid mobs and things like that. So that's the main thing that makes it not a good weapon. It has nothing to do with the damage. The damage itself is fine, but... anyway, so we did get the 60 a long time ago in Ancient Sewers, and actually this iteration of Ancient Sewers had a lot more enemies than normal. Keep in mind, you do get 5 scroll fragments here. So 5 scroll fragments means that you're going to have 8 by the time you're done with Toxic Sewers, and then this level as well. So you're getting a lot of scrolls here. You're getting 2 scrolls, actually. When in other levels, you're only getting that 1. So important things to note, like if you really value your scroll count like I do, then you will typically take this route. Anyways, so we are close to perfecting the level, which is really good because everything in this level does a crap ton of damage. So the thing that does the least damage is outside of the green worms is the failed experiment. And if the failed experiment is doing the least amount of damage, then yeah, it's time to, you know, kind of make sure it's time to build your stuff accordingly. Anyways, we are able to do what we got to do. I'll take this time as we head towards Conji to talk a little bit about shields. There's 3 tactic shields. There are the Thunder Shield, Parry Shield, and the Knockback Shield. Thunder Shield is only unlocked in 5BC, so don't worry about it. But the Parry Shield, basically it shoots a bunch of projectiles back. If you parry a projectile, if you parry a bomb, it creates 2 bombs, and it's a pretty good shield, I would say. I don't typically use it because I'm not really using shields that much on tactics, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Knockback shield is exactly as the name suggests. When you parry an enemy, then it'll knock them back, and that actually gives you a lot of time to be able to use your ranged weapons. It pairs excellently well with something like the marksman's bow, which is entirely based off of spacing. That's another guide I want to do. There's so many guides that I want to do, and I need to like not overwork myself here. So I'll do the 2-handed one first after I do my survival video, and I'll just go from there. But we're gonna go ahead and sell these guys. I was thinking about taking that snake fangs, and I was like, probably not. Probably shouldn't be doing that. But we're gonna go ahead and face Conji, and my favorite boss in the game, with my favorite route in the game. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm gonna go ahead and check out that curse, or not the curse chest, the regular chest first. That would be a hell of a thing if that was a curse chest. I had to face Conji right away, but I actually ended up with the perfect Tesla coil. So I was like, I think it's time to get rid of the owl. Tesla coil and wolf trap, both with poison synergy, and it gives itself poison, and I have a carbine. Easiest take in the world. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, and we are going to go right to Conji. So Conji, not the hardest boss in the world. I have a guide on it. I would say she's fairly hard to perfect, at least right away. Later on, it does become easier, but as you can see, I do take these shrapnels, and they're doing a lot of damage. And never underestimate the power of being able to synergize your weapons, because Sonic Carbine would not have been able to do the amount of damage that this is doing right now, just because I have that 80% to poison. Getting that synergy can be so important. I'm gonna go ahead and avoid Conji right here, and then drop my wolf trap, and then, you know, the whole shebang. And now I have her trapped, but Conji can be bugged in the wolf trap sometimes, so I'm just kind of trying to stay far away and not get hit by her. And yeah, and you can see like she released the lasers. I'm pretty grateful I didn't get hit there, because if I got hit, it would have been really unlucky, but I have gotten that unlucky before. And I'm going to kind of take it slowly, just because the tentacles, they are moving faster, as you can see. Like, they do move faster the more you kill. They become angry and angry that you kill their brothers and sisters. I mean, which, yeah, obviously, that's going to happen. But we kill Conji pretty much right when she comes back, and that's the Conji fight. And yeah, this build is pretty much rolling right now. Shrapnel Axes definitely has gotten a lot better. I would still say it's kind of outclassed a little bit, but definitely is looking good as we head into the graveyard. And as far as legendary items is concerned, I discussed that in the last video, but all you need to know is that it takes your 2 highest stats, and then that's going to be the power of your item. So with the Swarm, which I am going to be taking, because why wouldn't I? And plus Swarm is actually not that bad anymore. Still very situational, but not bad, honestly. So as far as Swarm is concerned, you know, that would have a power of 20, because I have 3 in Brutality and Survival each, so it doesn't really matter in this case. And I have 17 in Tactics. 17 plus 3 is 20 last time I checked, so Swarm's power is going to be at 20 Tactics, which is ridiculous. And I realized at this point I'd actually forgotten to put my Swarm in, because I don't have an Owl anymore. But Shrapnel Axes, definitely that ranged function gives it a lot of really nice utility, especially when I'm in Graveyard and I don't want to get hit in the face by a bunch of cannibals, because cannibals are really scary. Because if you get hit once by their jumping combo, you're going to get hit again, and that makes it very difficult. And they've ended quite a few curses. But now we get to see the power of Swarm, as, you know, obviously I'm going to jump into the spikes because that's what I do. You're watching me play. One really cool thing about shrapnels is you can start your combo on one platform and continue it on another. By the way, I want to show you guys something. So you want to know why that elite spawned? It was nothing I did. It's because his dumbass walked into the spikes, and so I had to deal with it. Because of his stupidity, I had to go fight him. I love Dead Cells. Just, it's such a goofy game sometimes. Just enemies purposely, like, kamikazing themselves, and then, like, having the audacity to be like, oh, but you did it. I think we have another elite coming up, and one nice thing about the turrets from Tactics is you can kind of just use it and then cheese on a ladder a little bit. I like that strategy a lot. It's called ladder cheese, or that's what I call it, and it makes it a lot easier to handle certain things, especially on Curse. Just make sure there's not an Inquisitor shooting at you, and then you'll be okay. So, what turrets should you be taking? Well, there are some. It depends on what you want. Like, it depends on your gear. I know it's kind of a non-answer, but like if you think about it, it's easier to use certain weapons when you're up close, and it's easier to use certain weapons when you're farther away. Marksman's bow is an example of where like it's really bad when you try to use it like from close, but it's really good from far away. So something like a Wings of the Crow would be really good with it, but then something like your standard like what is it? Double cross-matic may not be as good with it because you kind of have to be far away, and turrets don't activate 100% of the time from where you are because of the spacing and where you are and things like that. You need to be close enough to your turrets basically. But good news is there are a lot of skills that work with the different playstyles on Tactics, whether you're short ranged or melee or normal range. Like, it really does not matter at the end of the day. You're going to find a skill that works for you. Like, Swarm would be horrible with the more long-ranged build, but is good on this build, which is kind of a melee-ranged hybrid at this time. And I don't know what this cannibal was doing, but I'm just going to go ahead and kill it. So now we have this elite catcher, and I'm going to shoot from very far away, and I'm going to roll back and then finish him off. And that's why shrapnel axes... That's really what it's capable of doing, is being able to shoot from very far away and give you like a distinct advantage. And +3 amulet, you know I'm gonna go for that. Anything else to note? I can talk to you guys about why Graveyard is awesome, but I already have a video on that. I can leave a link if you guys want to watch that, but it is, in fact, my favorite level in the game. It's not particularly... Well, Ancient Sewers makes it particularly close, but other than those two, like, it's not very close at all. But I do get some nice healing there, and my malaise is already cleared. And now we're just going to be taking a look at the shop. What do we see? What do we see? I have 48,000 right now. I'm thinking I want to go for something that can give me, like, long-lasting damage. I was thinking about getting that infantry bow, but I was like, I don't know about that one. And so, ultimately, what I decided to go with is the Valmont's Whip. And I decided to put the shrapnel axes in the back pocket. What am I doing here? Okay, no, I put the Valmont's Whip in my back pocket. Keep that in mind because there's going to be some wild stuff that happens later on in this run. With, like, switching between the backpack and using the backpack in certain respects. And the worms almost got me killed there because of the kamikaze bat. And, yeah. The problem with worms is that they aggro enemies when you don't want them to. But able to clear everything out. And yeah, we're going to move on. And we are close to finishing up in Graveyard. And I'm going to want to beat up these guys even more. There we go. I have not had the curse chest yet. And one of the problems with Graveyard is that the curse may not be until the end. And sometimes you may end up having to take him to the next biome. The problem is the next 2 of the 3 next biomes that you can go to from this area are very difficult in the beginning, which is Forgotten Sepulchre and Cavern. Undying Shores is actually a fairly easy level, all things considered. I mean, it's still hard because it's dead cells, but it's easy compared to the other 2 in my opinion. And Forgotten Sepulchre has that curse right at the beginning, so you could end up with 20 on your curse count, and it just becomes a huge deal. So yeah, try to complete the curse if you can. And one trick you can kind of keep in mind is that as far as curses are concerned with this level, you're always going to be using the Ram Rune to access the curse. Or, like, most of the time you're going to be using the Ram Rune to access the curse. And you'll either get that or the regular chest. And in here, I got the curse chest. There are different cell doors. If you're on 5 BC, you can access all the cell doors. And there's a 2, a 3, and a 4 BC cell door And one of them is probably going to have enemies in it, so you can go ahead and check that one out and just kind of save enemies so you don't have to deal with the next biome, because it just becomes a royal pain in the butt. So there are enemies in this biome, so I'm just going to kind of be shooting far away. I don't even know what I'm shooting at, but yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of taking it slow, and especially if you're at the end of the level, that's one advantage to having a curse, is that you don't have to worry about enemies spawning and like ruining your day. So I'm gonna wait for this Inquisitor to shoot at me, and then I'm gonna go ahead and clear the curse from there. Sometimes it's just all about waiting for your spot. Don't always rush in and try to do everything. I know some people feel like they have to play fast on the new melee system, but you can see my melees count. I'm at 0 melees right now. I'm sitting pretty and I'm doing fine. So you just gotta be selective about things. Like, you gotta know when to slow down and when to speed up. In my case, I generally like to go fast and make decisions on the fly, but there are times when I will slow it down, and that curse was that time when I slowed it down. So again, just keeping these things in mind allows you to become a better player. Like, you don't always want to be like trudging around and things like that, because that's not very productive. But at the same time, you don't want to be moving so fast that like you don't know what's ahead of you. Just understanding the balance of this game is very useful, and that's one thing I love about this game, actually. By the way, I'm at 24 in my main stat right now, and 24 is an excellent stat total to have, especially going into the next biome. So I could not be happier with how this is going. Gonna wait for the Inquisitor to shoot at me again, and you can see, like, again, just sometimes you just gotta wait for the Inquisitor to shoot his shot, and then you'll be okay. I wonder how broken a weapon that could shoot through walls would be, though. I was thinking about that just now, but probably real broken. One thing I should have done here was to, like, let the Inquisitor shoot at me and then roll onto the next platform and then get the kill from there instead of going downwards, but it ended up working out. 132 kills in Graveyard after I potatoed into the spikes. Good stuff. Graveyard has a ton of enemies. That's another reason I like it. It's like constant movement, and it's a very diverse level. Like it's like the perfect Dead Cells level in my opinion. Like, it's just so engaging, and it's like peak Dead Cells, and like what made it so loved as a game for me was, I mean, obviously I didn't go to Graveyard much before, but that's really what catapulted my love for the game, was this level. So I'm glad to have shown you guys this in this particular run. But we're going to be moving on to the Cavern. The idea behind going to Cavern is that I'm getting 5 scroll fragments, and then that means afterwards I can go either fight the Giant or the Scarecrow. In this case, I'm going to go fight the Giant. And that means I can go skip until Hand of the King, which I honestly, sometimes I don't really want to go to Distillery or to High Peak Castle, so I would rather just go to Giant than to Hand of the King. So that's essentially what I'm doing here, and that I can achieve by going to this level. And I'm going to be changing my mutations just because I have different weapons, and I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what do I want? What do I need to do? So I go with Barb Tip, Support, and what's the last one I go through? Parting Gift. Yeah, Parting Gift is just an amazing ability in general, just because, like, it can kill like the flying enemies and stuff like that. 2, with the Kuda's bow, becomes actually really powerful. And 3, like, it actually has a very short breach on enemies, which can make a huge difference. It's the best ability in the entire game, in my opinion, but not everyone wants to hear that. So, yeah. Anyways, so Cavern time. This is a really fun level. It's very challenging, I would say, and it's because not everybody knows why Cavern is so difficult, and it actually doesn't have to do with the damage that you're taking, because you're taking a lot of damage in tactics regardless. It has to do with enemy spacing. Think about it. You have to roll a certain way to get past the demons, but then you have to roll a certain way to get past ground shakers, which I'll show you guys in a second. Excuse me. When you've been talking for as long as I've been talking, your voice tends to run out a little bit, but I'll show you guys an example upcoming, but Cavern is one of the hardest levels in the game, just because of the fact that especially inexperienced players are going to have a difficult time like identifying like what they want to do. And in this case, I decided, okay, I want to go with a bow at this point. And so you want to roll away from the ground shaker. Keep that in mind, because typically you're rolling towards enemies to avoid their attack. But with the ceiling drop, with the ground shaker, you want to avoid by rolling away. And it's a little unintuitive, but Once you get hit, you're gonna then understand. Also, getting orb kills is like such a big flex, and that's why I love this level, because orb kills are super fun for me. But this is another like really open type of level, so there's a lot of like really cool platforming that you can do, and just kind of exercising your ability to like be able to utilize different platforms and how they operate, and that actually will help you like be able to kill these enemies a little bit faster. Another problem with this level is obviously slammers, but more so demons with slammers, because demons you're kind of forced to run in a different direction, and slammers you can't parry them, and all these enemies do a lot of damage. Demons not so much, slammers definitely. As far as ground shakers are concerned, you know, just roll away from them. When their melee attack is extremely easy to avoid, harder to parry, but it's actually not that bad. You should be able to parry it. But there's no real need to do it because their attack is so slow that you can run away. One thing I suggest, okay, so if you want to know how to deal with these orbs, let me roll back a little bit. You can jump into it and then just roll away. You have a long time to be able to do it. Just don't go towards it, because then you're going to get sucked in and then take drop damage. But sometimes I purposely explode them, because sometimes you get unlucky and they're put in spots where like it makes it more difficult to like fully avoid them. And I'm gonna speed through this part because for whatever reason I thought rolling all the way up there was a great idea and increased my melees. So you can see I did the same thing again. Next thing I want to talk about caverns is obviously the most famous enemy in this level, which is the arbiters. And arbiters are basically inquisitors on steroids, except are they really? Because arbiters shoot a little bit more slowly, and they don't shoot straight at you. They shoot at an angle. So that angle is really easy to avoid once you're able to figure it out. But the tricky thing about arbiters is that once you start, or once you're able to kill one, a bunch of bombs pop up. And that's actually when it becomes difficult, because you have to avoid the bomb. And so one thing I like to do is, like, if I kill an arbiter and there's no other enemies that I need to deal with, I'll kind of run one way, and then I'll roll towards it. It just kind of helps me out a little bit. I was thinking about taking that flashing fans because of the easy synergy, but flashing fans are a bit tricky to use, and you got to time it right, and I'm very lazy, and I don't want to deal with that. So we're just going to kind of move on. Bonelandless Quiver is doing a really good job right now, but that's not going to be the main weapon we take anyways. Just because Bonelandless Quiver, while much improved, is not as good as the next weapon we're going to be taking. And one little trick that I found is that you can actually, when on melees, when these enemies are starting to turn elite, you can actually just let them turn elite, and then your melees goes down by a little bit. So arbiter bombs, when they shoot, like when you kill them, they have the little bomb. They shoot, I believe, at 45-degree angles in both ways and 180 degrees in both ways. And that's actually really easy to avoid. You can just stand directly underneath the bomb and you're going to be completely fine. In fact, for the most part, you can just stand underneath arbiters and you'll be okay. Although, in version 1.2, when they were introduced, they would actually shoot below you and there was no way to parry that. That's why they took it out of the game. But I do think that the devs kind of overcorrected a little bit, and then what they ended up doing was just removing arbiters from everywhere not named the Caverns. So the Caverns has 2 exclusive enemies now in the Ground Shaker, and 3 actually with the Skeleton, Arbiter, and Ground Shaker. I like arbiters. I like them a lot better than inquisitors, just for the sake of enemy diversity. I wish, like, inquisitors are in like 30 different levels. I wish that arbiters were at least in a couple, like maybe in High Peak Castle or something. But anyways, I get a shovel, which there's no reason I need a shovel. So you can see I was able to roll away from the ceiling drop, and that's actually what allowed me to be able to get the kill from there on the Ground Shaker, and don't get hit by the ceiling because they do a crap ton of damage. Another thing with arbiters, so with the bomb, what you can do, and you can actually just go ahead and grab a scroll or a scroll fragment, and you'll be able to avoid damage all the same. Because the bomb's going to explode while you're in that little cutscene. And you can see I'm just kind of moving around all over the place. And again, that just comes back down to like where I know the bomb's going to shoot versus where I think certain things are going to happen. And at this point, I figured, okay, let's get rid of this Tesla coil. Let's get rid of the swarm, as well as the swarm has done for me. Or maybe not. I don't know if it's actually done much. But it is time that I got away from it. I'm going to go ahead and pick up this next scroll. My malaise is already fairly high anyway, so it doesn't really matter. As long as I'm not at like 10 malaise, like it's not a huge deal. But we're going to go ahead and pick up the scroll, be at 26 now. 3, 26, and 4. And we're just going to go ahead and move on. And I've already gotten the 60. So the 60 door actually gives you the highest level in the next restroom. And as well, like the shops give you like the highest level gear in your respective BC. In my case, it's going to be level 12, which is really nice. And again, that's just more intentionally turning enemies elite so that I can get some wiggle room when it came to like being able to decrease my malaise by just a little bit, because elites decrease your malaise, I think, by like a half or something like that, by like a half bar. But I'm gonna take neither of these. Just kind of keep moving on. I'm not sure if there's anything else I want to note here, but I do want to show the rest of the footage for you guys, so we'll let that keep rolling in the meanwhile. But do want to take this time to say, if you're enjoying the video, you know, give your boy a like, because I'm desperate for attention. But, you know, I do want to take a second to say, though, like, it is nice being back. Obviously, many of you who look at my weird little channel updates, I like to use the community tab for that. You can, I'm just going to fast forward through this. I think I paused for a while somewhere yet. Okay. I do want to, and, you know, obviously my mental health was not in the best place at that time. And there was a lot that was going on, but I'm in a much better spot now. I can't really describe what happened. I think it was one of those quarter-to-life crises that happen. Like, I turned 29, like, that same week. And it was, like, a couple days after my birthday that I kind of just stopped making YouTube videos. And, you know, it's been, what, 4 or 5 months since that. So I understand, like, the view count is going to be down. And so I do appreciate those of you who have, like, stuck with me and, like, you know, asked how I'm doing, like, periodically. And for those of you who were on my Twitch stream when I was trying to get world record in Iron Man, in the Iron Man Dead Cells Challenge, which I'm going to make a video about, by the way, because my boy Vord actually got the world record today. The first sub 230. And I'll kind of go into, like, detail in a different video about it, and I'll have him on as a guest. Because I had the world record for, like, a solid month. And it was really cool. Like, the Iron Man Challenge is basically beating 0 to 5 BC in a row. And the game ends when you beat 5 BC. And you can get there however you need to get there. And my record was 244 or 248 or something like that. And then I got the first sub 3, and Vord just got the first sub 230. And he put the video up on his channel. See if I can, like, leave a link or something. I'll have to remember to do it. But it was really cool. And I think doing that, like, kept me in the community, kept me, like, playing the game and stuff like that. And that helped a lot. And then also just, like, I don't know. I just stopped putting so much damn pressure on myself with this. I really kind of got into my job, and I started doing a lot of work. Maybe overworked a little bit, but I do enjoy what I do, so it's not a huge deal that I work a lot, just because I enjoy what I do. So is it really that bad of a thing? I don't know. I mean, you be the judge, but it is nice to be back and doing this. I don't know if I want to, like, ever go back to, like, the rate that I was doing it. Probably not, to be honest, but I do at least want to, like, so you can see me dodging the Arbiter bomb again just by, like, running back and then running and then rolling forward. Just makes it easier. But I do want to at least put out some content for you guys, because I did enjoy making it, like, and I don't regret taking the time off that I did. I don't regret coming back. Things are just the way they are, and I'm excited to be showing you guys new content and just kind of my new approach to things. It's a lot healthier, I'll put it that way. And I should also kind of mention, you know, just because things were not great at that particular time in my life, it doesn't mean that the whole thing shouldn't have happened. Maybe it's a wake-up call for maybe how I've been handling things, or maybe how I've been treating myself and stuff like that. And things like that are good to recognize. Like, you know, even for you guys, the bad things in your life are bad things, and I don't think that can be debated. But, you know, is there like something that can be taken away from that experience? And sometimes there is some therapeutic value that is kind of associated with that. But I don't really want to get too deep into exactly what happened, just because that's a little bit more personal for me. But I did want to at least give a little bit of insight into like what was going through my head at the time and where I'm at now. And I would say I'm in a pretty decent spot for the most part. I actually I wanted to go into doing mental health content for the channel, but I'm just not comfortable in front of the camera. That's really all it came down to. I thought I was, but I'm just not. And it's so weird. And this is actually where I take the boomerang, so I'm going to stop talking about this stuff in a bit. But this run actually just kind of turns around once I get the boomerang, because it becomes very chaotic and very fun. But yeah, maybe I'll make another video about like why I made some of the decisions that I did, but I don't think there's really much of a need to do that, to be honest with you guys. I really don't think that's necessary. What am I taking here? Disengagement? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I hope that makes sense to everybody. But now we got this giant fight coming up. Tactfully changing the subject, but I have the boomerang now, and boomerang got buffed. I already knew it was buffed, and it's really good now, because even one hit like does a crap ton of damage, and especially with that poison synergy, like, yeah, you can see like that damage racking up like hell. So I'm not tripping whatsoever. We're good to go. And yeah, this fight is over. Or will be in a little bit. And the nice thing about boomerang is that you don't even need to be 100% accurate on your shots, but it does shoot real far now. That's one thing I noticed. And damage is really high. But we can potentially pick up a legendary before Hand of the King. And you can see I got the 4 scrolls. I skipped a scroll fragment in Caverns because I did not want the bottom right of the screen to have like an ugly ass looking gray cube on it. So that's why I didn't bother with it. But yeah, Hand of the King time. Let's see what we get for our legendary. It's a Serenade. I'm not going to take it. I don't like Serenade. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. I mean, I get how it works, but I just... I don't know. It's just very uncomfortable to use. But Hand of the King time. Basically on tactics, you do a lot of damage, so just focus on getting your damage, but also focus on dodging. Like, these fights don't have a timer. Like, that's also really important to know. Like, if you need to dodge things, like, dodge them. Like, it's not that big of a deal, like, if you aren't able to get the exact, like, shot that you wanted to, because you'll get it later. That's another reason, like, people do struggle against Hand of the King, is that they get kind of greedy. And I barely avoid the Inquisitor, actually. I did overthink that one a little bit. Okay. Dodge. Yep, good. Avoid the 3-strike combo. And he's going to fall into the lava. And what's going on now? Big slam. I do have a guide on Hand of the King, by the way. This fight has actually not changed whatsoever, which is real nice. But that's the Hand of the King fight. So, good stuff going on there. Let's go ahead and jump over to our legendary item. Let's see what we get. 5BC spoilers incoming. As we head on to the Astrolab. Stun grenade. It used to be part tactics, by the way. Now it's only, I think it's green only now. So, Astrolab. I think the next video I do, I'm not going to really discuss it that much, but I think one thing to note about some ranged weapons is that they are in fact auto-target. Stuff like Electric Whip, Magic Missiles, things like that, and that makes this level like about 30 million times easier. Trust me, I did the math. But I think in general, tactics is fine on this map. There's a bunch of stuff that auto-targets, like you can use an Owl, you can use Electric Whip, and even if you don't want to use any of those, you can just jump and hit the Librarian. It's not that big of a deal. You just gotta not overthink it. That's what happens a lot, is like people do overthink these things. And there's no need to do that. Like, I got poison on the librarian. She got hit. I don't even have an auto-targeting weapon. I don't have an owl. Like, it's fine. Like, not everything needs to be a very specific solution. That's why I don't believe in a Dead Cells meta. That's why I don't think it exists. Because you can use anything for anything. You just got to know how to use it. And that's actually what makes things more subjective than most games that will have, like, an objectively better weapon than another thing. Unless we're talking about, like, you know, fucking beginner's bow. Like, that's not going to work. I'm not sure why I did that with the wolf trap. I mean, I got it because it works really nicely with boomerang, but either way, moving on. I probably should have kept Sinew just in case, kind of looking back at this, but I mean, to be honest, I mean, the run's been going by pretty flawlessly. I've barely gotten hit. Like, I've only gotten hit a couple times, but you can see, like, you know, just kind of going through, like, my progressions here and just, like, making sure that I don't get pigeonholed into trying to do the same thing over and over again. If something's not working, it's not working. And sometimes we just got to admit that to ourselves. And I feel like that was what was happening with the repeater crossbow. Like, I had kind of hit my breaking point with that weapon. Anytime you can aggro these bombers, do it, because they're a very weak enemy and they don't hit hard. So it's just a lot easier to handle them. But the one thing I do want to say is, like, you don't want to get hit by a bomber, and you don't want to have to deal with the bomber when you are dealing with other enemies, especially librarians, because they both have different roll timings, and it just sucks. That's why with the librarians, you can actually just kind of post up against the wall and run against the wall, so it becomes a lot easier at that point. Yeah, magistrates, like, sometimes what they'll do is, like, they'll just keep on trying to hit you with their skeleton kids, and it becomes really tough to handle. But sometimes it's not like that, and it becomes a lot easier. But this time she was doing that, so I had to kind of maneuver my way around and then kill her from there. But failed experiment. We have another shield elite, but shouldn't be a big deal. All we're gonna do is just kind of use a boomerang, run far away, and we're at 100% HP now, and we're looking great. And this boomerang's going to kill that failed experiment very quickly. This is why synergy is really important, guys, because you can do things like that. And I didn't even have to, like, prepare to roll or anything, because I knew it was going to kill, because that 80% to poison plus a level 12 boomerang. Like, these are things to always keep in mind. I'm just kind of BSing this whole thing with the librarian, but able to kill her. Just be very careful with librarians. That's really all there is to it. So yeah, we're just kind of going through, and then we're trying to, well, not die, basically. I've died in Astrolot, like, a lot of times. But, safe thing to say, I don't end up getting hit in here. And I'm tired, so I want to go ahead and jump to the final battle against the 5DC boss. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we hit that 60 door, nothing really important there. But I do some re-rolling of my mutations, and I'm going to keep the same mutations, and then we're going to go ahead and hit up the observatory now. We're going to go fight the collector. And VLC, come on, hurry up. All right. So I got my kamikaze outfit on. We got our fight ready. We're ready. I'm ready. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Let's do it. All right, so first thing with collector, you got to know on tactics builds, you're going to be doing a lot of damage very quickly, unless he does the most annoying attack in the entire game, which is that one attack, because you can't hit him, and he's invulnerable, and it's a pain in the butt. But we're able to at least get him on one heal, which is really, really good. And then we can start avoiding him, and hopefully we can get 2 heals. Looks like we're able to. Awesome. And now the enemy room is going to appear. So let's go beat them up now. And we're able to kill everything with just the flame turret. And that should be 3 right there. So now 3. Next time he heals, he's going to be dropping the Panacea, and then we can drink it, and then we'll kill him as a result. Just avoid the little stab moves, because if you get hit once, then that's a lot of damage. And I got kind of screwed. I screwed myself up very badly right there. And then I tried to drink my health pot, and then I got hit by the down slam. So I'm actually very close to death right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have to not get hit, basically. But luckily, I was able to get the wolf trap going, and then I could avoid him. 3, 4, and then avoid his little fireballs, and then hit him once with the boomerang, and that's the run. So, tactics, tactics, tactics. Very fun playstyle. So you saw me switch between a lot of different weapons, and I hope that I was able to explain, like, very intentionally, like, why I did certain things in certain situations. And really, all it just comes down to at the end of the day is what is working well with the build and what is going to help elevate me to eventually get that win. So, boomerang, real good. Helped out a lot at the end there. And thank you guys so much for joining me on this one. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my content. Leave a like, subscribe, all that YouTuber stuff. See you all later. Have a great night, everybody, and stay safe out there.